Alright, shalom, shalom. First off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, ahchyam, Yahushai, ahchyam, Akakadash. Yahweh be the true name of Heavenly Father. Yahushai be the name for His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls God, and Jesus Christ. I want to give double honor to our apostles, double honor to our elders, a great millstone, Natasha's truth and will. Salutations to you, hopeful person is truth and honesty and sincerity. It's Brother Yahweh comes in to listen to the spirit power of Yahweh Shai. This lesson is just a quick information for brothers, hopeful elect, that might be affected by this winter storm. You know, we still got a couple more months to deal with this weather, so this might not be the last of deep freeze power outages that's expected to hit. What you see here, I have in this pot is a pot of Crisco. This is not for eating. I specifically bought it to make a giant candle. Okay, so here it is right here. All right, you can go to Walmart, you can get one of these big tins. You could even get an off-brand, doesn't have to be Crisco. But I got that there. Then I went to Dollar Tree, picked up a giant glass. I was looking for a big glass mason jar, but they didn't have it. But this is actually better because it has a handle to it. You know, so if you need to move the candle around, you can. But this liquid should be enough to fill this up to the top. Okay, and as you can see, basically I've got a candle as well, one of those long stick candles. Alright, I cut it to size and exposed the wick with that butcher knife there. Alright, so all I'm going to do is fill this up with oil. Okay, and basically let it cool so it can harden back to this point. And then from what I found on my research, this is going to be a candle that can last you, burn continuously. I believe she told me 30 days. So that's a long time to have a flame, you know, which is important. All right, and then you can just take an empty pot as well. Bear with me here. Lock you. Okay, I recommend stainless steel, but you could take cast iron. Basically, prop it up with some bricks above the flame to hold it. All right, and any type of stainless steel pot, preferably terracotta flower pot, upside down, and it will the candle will slowly heat up your pot. All right, and then it will radiate heat, and that radiating heat from the metal or the terracotta will actually warm a small room. So you can find the warmest room in your home. Okay, close the door. You know, make sure you have a little bit of ventilation for carbon monoxide safety, and you can have heat. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pour this in here. So bear with me. Alright, so as you see here, got the oil. You want to use extra caution because as you all know, oil burns are the worst. Okay. I'm actually just going to put this in my sink. I've basically taken a broken charger cord that I don't use. It doesn't even go to any of my phones. And all I'm going to do is use this cord to hold the candle upright, right, as I pour everything in there. Alright, so I'm doing this in my sink just to avoid any spills on my stove. And sure enough, it's full to the top pretty much, man. So okay, so I have enough oil left over to make a second one of these out of another smaller jar. Which I thought that maybe I thought it wasn't going to be enough, but hey, this is good. Okay, so from here, just gonna set this back on my stove because it's hot oil. Okay. Now this candle wants to float, so just making it work the best I can. Okay. And there you have it, folks. All right. All right. Another thing you can do is I've actually done this when I used to live in Maryland. Anytime hurricanes are getting ready to hit and there was a threat of power going out, for water, if you didn't have time to get a lot of water, you can do this. Of course, it's always better to drink spring water. I wouldn't recommend drinking tap any other time. But just for a backup for emergency purposes, what you can do is before the power goes out, all right, if you have a tub in your home, fill the tub all the way up with water. Of course, make sure, your tub is clean and stuff like that. But yeah, fill your tub up with water. Okay? Fill your tub all the way up with water and plug it up, and you have a lot of drinking water right there. Before the power goes out, and of course the drinking water supply still comes from the water filtration center, so it comes drinkable, even though there's a lot of chlorine in it and stuff like that. Like I said, tap water is no good, but you can definitely do this. You can also go to Dollar Tree again. They sell mop buckets like $1.50 each, $1.25 each. You can fill all those up. If you have any used gallon jugs that you haven't thrown away, you can also fill those up with tap water, and you have an emergency supply of water. And then you just basically scoop out whatever water you need from the tub. If you need to take a bath or wash yourself, you could just bathe in the sink. Okay, so just give yourself a large bowl full of water. You could bathe using that bowl of water. You can still clean yourself all the way with that. Make sure you have plenty of soap, and stuff like that, and toilet paper as well. And yeah, you can do that. Also, if you don't have a way of flushing or anything like that, you can invest in kitty litter. Okay, you can basically make a makeshift toilet with that disposable litter. Fill it up. And if you use the restroom, just treat it like a regular litter you would for a cat. And throw away your waste, because you might not be able to flush, and you don't want to waste a whole lot of water. These are things that you can do. Okay, and I'm just sharing this information for brothers, in case you've been on your own for a while and you haven't. Maybe it's your first time going through a long period of power outages and things like that. These are things that you can do. And also with that candle, having a long candle like that is very valuable, because you can cook with that as well. Okay, all you got to do is just invest in some bricks. Just run to your Home Depot or a local hardware store. Bricks are cheap. They're usually a few cents each. I'm not sure if they're $1 each or not yet, but get enough of them to where you can make you a stand. Stand them up and prop it above your candle, and then set your pot on top of those bricks and put your candle underneath. Okay, and then you can boil water. You can sear something. You can cook something. There's a lot you can do. Okay, you can also have flour. Make all you need for unleavened bread is flour and water, and you can make with a bag of flour from Dollar Tree. You can make basically unleavened bread. Your base, which are literally like homemade tortillas. All you do is just put a little bit of water, add water gradually at a time. If you got a bowl of flour, you just add like a cup of water at a time. Gradually, and stir it up until it becomes the consistency of Play-Doh. All of us played Play-Doh as kids. Okay, roll it into a ball, flatten it out into a circle, and you just put it on a bare, dry skillet. Okay, and you just toast it each side until it becomes firm, and you have food. So there are things that you can do, and this is how the Lord takes care of us as he blesses brothers with knowledge, to come across knowledge, and that's how we're going to be stable in the times to come. Knowledge and wisdom. Okay, here's another example here, what I was referring to with the whole candle technique. All right, this is what she's making here is a space heater that's powered by just a candle. Now imagine what you can do with that candle that I showed you in the video, what I'm making, the Crisco candle that lasts for 30 days. Like, just get you a couple of aluminum tins right there like she got. Sure, they might be stainless steel, and you treat your bricks the same way. Just prop it up just to make a stand above the flame. And that's going to keep you warm. And you could even make a small makeshift, pack to keep in your vehicle. Get you like 3 of these tins. Okay. And have a large candle in your vehicle and a little pot. In the wintertime, that might be safe to keep. That way, in case you ever stranded, you get stuck in snow or whatever, something happens in your vehicle, and you have a little heater for your vehicle. You just have to crack the window a little bit. Okay, and you got heat. Okay. Okay, here's another quick short I came across to describe, the unleavened bread process. Now, this is called hardtack. This is a super survival food that'll last you literally years. Years, man. All you need is a little Ziploc bags to store it in. Okay, and get the air out of it, and you can put it in a cool, dark area space in a Ziploc bag, and this will last you years. All right, he's going to show you this real quick on how it's made. Okay.
For a sailor every day includes a pound of bread, so they may get 6, 7, 8 ship's biscuits depending on how big they are. They are an unleavened bread. You just need flour, you need a little bit of water, and maybe sometimes salt. You make a very, very stiff dough, and you form it into these little biscuit shapes. And they're baked by the baker at a fairly low temperature and for a very long time. What we're trying to achieve here is a hardened disc of baked dough with almost no moisture in it. Moisture is the enemy of a ship's biscuit. It will cause it to get moldy. It will also attract insects. If this is dry, desiccated, there's nothing here for bugs to eat, and it just doesn't go bad.
All right, so there you go. So they also call them ship's biscuits. Okay, and they show you a little bit in the video how it's made. There's no real specific amount of water. I mean, you basically just want to add a little bit of water at a time until you, like I said, you get the consistency of Play-Doh. And then you just form it, knead it up. You add salt in there as well. Okay, and press it. And you want to bake it pretty much all day. Just bake it as long as possible it literally becomes as hard as a rock. And then you just store it. And then when it's time to eat it, you just gradually add a little bit of water. You could boil them a little bit to soften it up, and you eat those. All right, this is just a couple things that you can have. Pemmican is another thing you can make. You would have to research a video on that. That's a little bit more steps into making that. But basically, the concept of pemmican is beef jerky that's shredded and grounded up into powder. Okay, it's preferably bison jerky or even venison. Okay, and then you need beef tallow, which is beef fat. All right, you basically melt it down like you would Crisco and boil it. All right, and then you're just going to mix the meat with the melted fat. Okay, and you want to add blueberries, and you can add even a little bit of vitamins and things like that to make it a superfood. And I'm talking like 25 years. That protein-packed, energy bar will last you, on the shelf. Just keep it dark in like I said, another Ziploc bag or airtight bag. Okay, and it's just made from beef fat and meat protein, especially preferably beef or bison or venison. The jerky powder after it's dried completely and you grind it into powder in a food processor. All right, you can make, pemmican. All right, and that's what the Gadites, the natives, use here in North America as a survival food. You know, and they also made their own versions of hardtack like this, you know, or ship's biscuits, that's what they call them. You know, this is these are things that you can do. You know, always kind of pay attention to what's going on in the world around you. Okay, so you're not caught off guard. And knowledge like this is what's going to make, you know, brothers shine as gold. I mean, ultimately, it's the knowledge of the scriptures, because knowledge of the scriptures, first and foremost, makes you pay attention to prophecy and what's going on around you. And as a chain reaction, it leads to other knowledge, such as this information that I'm sharing with brothers and sisters that's in this truth. You know, so this is why the Lord says, hey, we don't have nothing to worry about, because this information is being shared. You know, you can like and share it if you like as well. You know, give it to somebody that might use the edification from it, because you know there's brothers that could be in situations that in this time where, you know, there's steady power outages, but most part the elect, the hopeful elect, a lot of brothers, man, don't be surprised if any of these storms, they have power. Okay, like they're gonna not lose any electricity because the Lord is with us. Okay, this is the book of Isaiah 33:6. It says, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of Yahweh is his treasure." Okay, so wisdom and knowledge is stability of thy times. Wisdom of what? Knowledge of what? Of the scriptures. All right, it's knowledge of these scriptures first and foremost, but even led me to have a knowledge of those video information I just shared with you. Why? Because I'm paying attention to what's going on around me. All right, and there's a lot of videos just to show you how to prepare for the times that we're in. Just people constantly uploading stuff, and this is just scratching the surface. Like this is gold information as far as, you know, easy, cheap survival methods if you're just living in urban areas, you know, outside of the wilderness, of some things that you can have that's probably already in your house that you can, you know, have for heat. Okay. You know, so wisdom and knowledge, learning about Yahweh Shem Shai, he's going to provide the divine intervention and protection over you. Whether he give you knowledge of how to make a fire, how to make a 30-day candle, you know, how to filter water, you know, how to get water and what to do, you know, all these things is important, because the rest of these people in this world, they're not paying attention to shit. They're just like, oh, fuck, power getting ready to go out, storm getting ready to hit, let me go get some toilet paper. You know, that's that's what that's what these regular people out here, you know, last time they had a big situation hit, you know, during the, you know, pandemic and stuff, man, you had people just rushing to buy all the damn toilet paper. Hey, don't you know, hey, with a rag and some water, you can wash your ass, man. I mean, all you got to do is have plenty of water to of course, wash the rag. You know, there's leaves that you can go get. You know, they rush to get all this toilet paper, but didn't buy nothing else. You know, people don't know. They go overload on ramen noodles. I mean, yeah, you do need some essentials, you know, grains. Buying bags of rice is probably wise, and bags of beans. Over the years, I've gotten a few pounds of that stuff. But, you know, the scriptures talk about how we're going to be in the time. So I probably don't have ability to take none of that stuff. You know, I do have plenty here, but when shit hits the fan, hey, the smart thing is not to stay where you're at. You got to keep moving. Okay. This is 2nd Ezra 16:40 says, "Oh, my people, hear my word. Make you ready to thy battle. And in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth." Right? So pilgrims, they move, they travel. Okay, they constantly setting up camp somewhere else. You know, they're survivalists, man. That's the wisest thing to do in the times to come. Not to try to stand your ground and think you're gonna build a fortress in your home or your apartment, wherever you're living at, and think you're gonna, you know, thug it out and defend everybody off. It's not how it's gonna work, man. In times to come, the best thing to do, if you have the ability and you're not snatched up into a FEMA camp, you know, is to get furthest away from the city as possible, and suburbs. You want to keep moving and try to get, you know, to the wilderness and start from ground zero out there. You know, wherever you're at in the wilderness, find your decent spot where we're close to fresh water source, drinking water. Okay, you want to have that. You want to have good terrain so you can observe anybody that might be coming your direction. You know, preferably up high a little bit so you can see who's coming. You know, have plenty of shelter, you know, blockage from the wind, access to water, access to fishing. All right, and then you know, set up your camp. You know, build you a shelter, Start you a fire, and you'll gradually add to your shelter. Build one that you can stay there for a little bit, and then keep moving and keep moving and keep moving, man. You gotta be as pilgrims coming. This is Ezekiel 34 and 25. When King David and his men and those that support him, they had to flee, for being persecuted from King Saul. And they did what the Lord told them. The Lord told them to go to the mountains, man. It says Ezekiel 34:25. It says, and I will make with them a covenant of peace, and will cause the evil beast to cease out of the land, and they shall dwell safely in the wilderness and sleep in the woods. Right, man. So the Lord's going to make sure we're okay. Okay? Wherever we're at, he's going to cause all those mountain lions and bears, they're not going to fuck with us. If we do interact with them, don't be surprised if the Lord, puts that spirit on them, man, to come and help you. Just like they did in the wilderness for the brother. Elijah is a great example. This is 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 1. It says, and Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, as Yahweh of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. And the word of Yahweh came unto him, saying, get thee hence, and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. So he went and did according to the word of Yahweh, for he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan, and the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook. So he got breakfast and dinner. Okay, and he probably had a little bit enough for lunch too. The ravens, which are smart birds, basically they look like crows. They're very intelligent. They can mimic, like parrots can. Okay, I've seen them actually, pick up walnuts and fly to the top of a stoplight and drop it in the street just so the cars can run it over and crack it for them. And then when the red light turned red, they would fly down and eat the nut. So the Lord in this case used animals to feed Elijah. The Lord's going to do that for us, the hopeful elect, as well in these times to come, because a lot of us are going to have to flee. Some brothers are going to flee to the wilderness. Some brothers are going to have different trials and walks. Some brothers might actually get snatched up into a FEMA camp. But that's not going to be all of us. So some bros might get this opportunity to go to the wilderness, man. And Elijah didn't need to know nothing. He just went straight to the wilderness as Yahweh told him, and he got taken care of. So don't be surprised if a mountain lion or a cougar brings a fresh kill and drops it off your feet. Like, here you go, some venison for you, and you butcher it, throw some in the fire, and toss him a piece of it, for bringing it to you. The Lord's going to put the spirit on these animals to do things like that. He could even do the exact same thing again for you in the wilderness with ravens. You never know. The Lord could put a spirit on a bear to help you out. There's many different ways, man. Many, many different ways. All right, here's another concept that information I like to share with brothers whenever it comes to mind. I like to go fishing, but anytime I'm coming across somebody in the conversation of fishing is coming up while we're out, I always mention this. It's a good technique to have as well. You want a primitive funnel basket trap design for fish. You can basically make a wall of twigs and stick it into the ground at the shore of a lake or stream or wherever those fish are, and you want to build this shape, okay? But you want to build it, in the water at the water's edge. You can see how they kind of did a main one here, a big one, okay? But here's another example. They're kind of putting sticks in the water. You can build like little funnel traps just out of making a wall of sticks in the water, and it traps fish. There was a good photo here. Hold on, bear with me. I just came across it a little bit ago. Salakia. Okay. Okay, here we go. Here's another example here. You see? There was another actual photo of one. I have to find it. But basically, just like I said, you make the shape of a letter M or a V. So what he's got is you created a wall, all right, and then you also have the towards the bottom here. You can see that's the entrance, and the way their eyes work, they get confused. So instead of going straight through this little doorway here, they just trap themselves and keep swimming around. And then you could just make a little spear with a sharpened stick and just poke them, stab them, and take them on out of the water, man. All right, here's a better photo. This is the one I was looking at of how you can just make it. Use different rocks, of course. Okay, you could use different rocks and such to make it. But this is how they look. All right, here you go. Perfect right here. Bam. This is what I was looking for. Very, very easy. Easy, simple to make, man. Just stick the damn sticks. Go to the shore of a lake, and you just stick the damn sticks in the water, and you can see the shape of the M it makes there. That's what I like to call it. All right. Here's another great example here of how it looks. And you just throw some bugs, lift up your boulder or rock, grab some bugs, nuts, different things and natural food sources you see around the lake that fall into the water that fish eat, even smaller fish themselves, and chop them up and just put them right in here. All right, and then just be patient, come back and check, and sure enough, you'll have fish that'll be trapped in there. And you just, even if they're little, they all add up. You just get as many as you can, and then you have food, man, protein. Okay. This is Matthew 24. This is why you can't be in a spirit of doomsday prepping, because the Lord's going to put on the spirit of his men to just go. When they say go, it's time to go. We ain't got no bunkers on this side. That's for Esau. Esau's got them bunkers built for us. While we're on the move, we're going to stumble across some of their bunkers, and we'll be staying in there safely. But this is Matthew 24 and verse 15. It says, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Like, this happened in history, but it's gonna come again in this time. Martial law is getting ready to hit. All right, we're in the beginning of Jacob's trouble right now. It's already started. So it's eventually going to lead up to this point and get more intense. Okay. It says, let him which be in Judea, let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains, and let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Right. You're not gonna have time to grab your bug out bag. If you have it, it's there, then it's there, cool. But you're not gonna have time. Like, the shit can hit the fan anywhere. You could be on the road, working somewhere. You could be, flying on vacation somewhere, and the shit pops off. It could be a lot of different places. It's time to go. It's time to go, man. Okay. It says, let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. Right. So if you have an infant baby, you're at a disadvantage. All that crying and stuff is going to give away your position. A lot of these women, they don't breastfeed. They don't. They buy formula. So the titties are ran dry. So they got a baby that crying. They can't feed the baby. Or the one woman is malnourished and she can't produce enough milk. So it's not going to be looking good for a lot of these single mothers. It's not. So that's also why it's wise at this time to not be focused on trying to have little babies and kids, because this could happen at any moment, and you just put your child at risk. It says, verse 18 says, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. Right. You know, you don't want on the flight in the winter and this brick freezing temperatures, because that just lowers your chances of making it thousands, man. Trying to find wood and below sub-zero temperatures, you're freezing cold. You can't feel your fingers. You know, it's not enough time to build a shelter for you. Start freezing to death. It's a terrible time to have to flee like this in the winter. But this might be the Lord hinting that it's something like this going to happen during that time. This is why you need the Lord with you, man. This is why you need divine intervention. Because his elect, no matter what time of the year it is going to be okay. You know, it says, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Right. That great tribulation is talking about Jacob's trouble, which has begun. It's begun. Pay attention to what's going on in Minneapolis and how that's going to spread to city to city to city. Civil war is being ready to pop off. Eventually, the civil war will be fully hot and every state will see it. Okay, that's what this time is talking about in the scriptures. It says, and except those days shall be shortened, there shall be no flesh be saved. For the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. And this is why time is going by so fast. This is why last year went by so quick, and this year is going by fast. The days are literally physically being shortened for the elect. For us brothers out here laboring in this truth, we're tired of this captivity, so the Lord is speeding things up. You know, so, amen. Pray to the Heavenly Father, man, for protection. You know, pray for mercy, pray for guidance, because ultimately you're going to need all Him in order to make it. Everything else, you know, is just something, a tool the Lord can use to help you. But, you know, ultimately, if you don't have Yahweh ahchyam Yahushai first, and you're not calling upon those names, you will not make it, and you will be tortured to death. Okay, so Lord's will, this lesson's edifying. I'm going to close out, give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh ahchyam Yahushai, ahchyam HaKadosh. Double honors to our apostles, elders, great millstone, taught us truth and will well. And salutations to you, hopefully, person is truth and honesty, sincerity. Shalom.